Our sermon series is anticipating the rebel Judas, which to me seems quite a good way to build up towards Christmas. Better than the usual glitzy, all is peace, white fluffy approach that we generally see. After all, Jesus was quite a rebel. And before we have talked about how he was a great radical, coming to shake things up. The reading today from Matthew tells of how John the Baptist, while found up in it, sends friends to ask if Jesus is the one he's been waiting for, the one that he's been telling everybody was coming, the one who ultimately kind of landed him in there. In response, Jesus tells them to say to John that loads of great stuff has happened, emphasising that the good news has been given to the poor. It's interesting that he singles that out along with curing the blind and making the lame walk. It's clear how much importance he placed on that. Then of course he goes on to big up John, saying that he is awesome. Alright, that's a slight paraphrase. Probably not what people were expecting. I mean, I don't know about you, but I would have been looking for a more yes or no answer. But then Jesus rarely answered questions directly. He usually had something wise to say, or something mysterious. Or perhaps, I guess depending on who was asking, something that was just plain annoying. I bet lots of his friends longed for a bit of clarity. But hey, he was who he was. Now when I was looking up this reading, I actually typed in the wrong reference. I put Matthew 12, 2 to 11 instead. And as we heard, it was Matthew 11. One number out. As it happens, it was quite a fortunate mistake. Because in that reading, Matthew 12, Jesus is having his famous argument with the Pharisees about doing stuff on the Sabbath. The story of his disciples picking grain as they're walking through the field, yada yada yada. The Pharisees come and have a go at him about his disciples. But Jesus schools them on the law, and more importantly, on common sense. Now this is quite interesting because no one used to question the Pharisees. No one used to argue with them. They were the keepers of the law. They were part of the leadership at the time. They were supposed to be the experts. And generally, people of reasonable power and some wealth. But hey, what else would a rebel do? He schools them by asking the questions, which is pretty cool, because they're kind of stuck. If they answer honestly, then they are agreeing with him, supporting his view. If they don't answer at all, then they look like they don't know the answer, which for people who are experts in the law, is probably not a good look. So they followed that age-old tradition of just heading away and plotting revenge, as you do. But that's kind of another story. However, it often makes me laugh how people perceive Christians, or at least how Christians should be, should behave, should act, should speak. Many seem to think if you are a Christian, particularly if you wear a collar, you should be a softie, an easy touch, one of those do-gooders who goes around all peace and light and love and hope, not saying boo to a goose, handing out everything they have without a second thought. What a load of old tosh. Being Christian isn't the same as being a doormat. Christ didn't just float along letting people take advantage of him. He stood up for what was important to him. As we heard, he argued with the religious leaders of the time over their interpretation of Scripture and the law. He fought with people who were, in his opinion, desecrating the temple. He even threw wobblies at his own disciples now and again. Not the holy, patient, smiling, saintly person that is often portrayed in films, on our favourite cards, or in books. He was an emotional person, a passionate person, a very real person. Someone who believed in social justice. He spent much of his time reaching out to those on the fringes of society, those who were despised, and most importantly, those who were ignored. And he gave them the message of God's love for them. He let them know that they were loved fully and unconditionally, just as they were. Many people believe that he was perfect. I don't know, maybe he was. But I guess it all depends on what your definition of perfection is. We often try to put our own view of perfection onto him. Even then, many had their own ideas about what he should be, who he should be, Messiah, Christ, and how that should look and play out in life. Can you imagine that responsibility? Being the person who had to carry and try to reconcile all those diverse views, all those differing perceptions, all those preconceptions. I really don't think I could. The sheer weight of that responsibility must have been horrendous. But anyway, to drag us back to the present for a minute, what does all this mean for us as followers of Christ? I can only speak for myself. And to me it means that I can actually be me. But more than that, it means I can be my own unique self, with all that entails. It also means, and this is just a personal thing, that I've pledged to follow his ideals, to reach out to those on the edges, to be, for want of a better word, real. Not go around acting holy or making out I'm better than anyone else. Just being me. Now, to me, that seems like a pretty good start. A good step to becoming more Christ-like. Now, if that includes standing up to local authorities, arguing with governments or organisations, I think if it's the right thing to do, then that is very Christian. Christ gave everything for what he believed in, even his life. And I believe as Christians, we should do what we can to follow his example. Not to the point of giving up our lives, at least I hope not. But as we are able to. Was he a rebel? Yeah, I think so. After all, he spoke to people a good Jewish boy shouldn't have, argued with his elders, hung out and even broke bread with people considered sinners. He challenged the accepted interpretation of the laws, and he did what he knew to be right, no matter who it upset. Sounds quite rebellious to me. Or maybe I should say unique. I think we can all agree he certainly was unique. He was a rebel with a cause, and this was long before James Dean came along without one. It was a campaign of change, for social justice, for fair treatment of everyone. He was an activist who wasn't above breaking out a knotted cord when necessary. He challenged the norms of the day and highlighted the injustices and wrongs being done to people. But in doing so, he upset the authorities, both religious and secular. In all of that, I see a lesson for all of us. There is strength, great strength, in being exactly who we are. Being our true, authentic, unique selves. That strength can be used to bring about great change. We can have a hugely positive or negative impact on our world by being who we are, if we truly know who that is. Now, people are always shocked when I swear. Or when I get angry about something, usually the council. Or when I refuse to give them something, and then I get responses like, "But you're supposed to be Christian." Or, "Well, that's not very Christian, is it?" Now, clearly their idea of being Christian and mine are very different. But it often leads to a discussion about Christ, which naturally includes his rebellious nature and his occasional outbursts of temper. To me, being Christian means getting to know Christ on a very personal level. It means trying to see him as a whole being. Not just the parts that we've heard about, not just the holy stuff, not just the incredible miracles, and certainly not just the way he died, but the real stuff, the day-to-day living. It means exploring what it might have been like for him to be around in those days and try to understand why he did what he did and said what he said. It certainly doesn't mean that I need to be perfect, holy, or even good all the time. That's an impossible target. Christ rebelled against the interpretation of the law and scripture of his day. Maybe it's time we rebelled against the interpretation of what it is to be a Christian today. To my mind, all we need to do is to go back to basics. And that often asked question that was popular on wristbands many years ago: what would Jesus do? By following him as best we can, I believe we can drastically alter the perceptions people have of what a Christian is. I personally believe that Christ came and died so that we would realise just how close God is to us. Not separate, but truly a part of our everyday lives. Or, as a song we sang a little while ago said, closer than our breath. But he also showed that we could fully be our true selves and still be loved. And in being our true selves, we could have a huge impact on our world. After all, we serve